Hey everyone, Tyler here with Heritage Valley Community Page, here with Naomi of Put, Cork wine tasting. We're just here to learn a little bit about her and her business. So, tell us a little bit about you and what got you started in wine tasting.
Sure. So, as you mentioned, my name is Naomi and I live in the Heritage Valley.
Yeah.
And so I got into teaching people about wine and doing wine tastings not too long ago, and within the last year.
Yeah.
And part of it was just, we all enjoy, or most of us enjoy having a glass of wine now and then.
Yeah.
And for me, it was letting people know that there's different selections out there, there's different options, things to try. I took some courses, so I now have certification as being a wine educator.
Cool.
And what it did is I think it just allowed me to get out and talk to people and fairly social.
Yeah.
And talk to people. So you're not just walking in the store and always picking up the same thing. It's just a fun event.
Yeah.
I do the wine tastings for the most part in people's houses.
Yeah.
So that means that you don't have to worry about driving immediately after. It's cold. I come in. I do a whole setup for you. And it becomes an event in your house rather than just the usual having people over.
Is this typically how it would look? Is this how a setup would be traditionally?
Yeah. Usually we have about 8 people or more,
Okay.
just to make it, the more people, the more wine you get to try.
Yeah,
But something like this with some table decorations, I bring everything in for you. Yeah.
So do you go in and do you choose the wine? Like, do you choose what they're going to taste? Like, you pick if you want a Pinot or whatever different types, or do they pick that?
Both. I talk to each host to sort of figure out what it is that they are looking for.
Okay.
So if they wanted all red or all white or a certain kind of grape, that's totally fine. If I get the option to run with it, I actually try to bring wines that you've never heard of before.
Yeah.
So you would never see, if it were me presenting mine to you, you actually wouldn't see wines you've ever heard of before, which is sort of the point
cool.
a little bit, right? So rather than going in the store and saying, oh, I want a Pinot Grigio, I'll introduce you to Soives or Muscadats or ones you probably wouldn't invest in because you've never heard of them.
Right.
So just to give people a knowledge that there's a variety out there.
And where do you find these wines? Where do you find the lesser known things, and then do you try them first, or you just spring them on?
Oh no, I try them. It's that's one of the perks of the business.
I guess so, right?
So I try them first. Just being part of the community. You go to wine tastings. I work with some people in town who are distributors, so I have contacts with them, and it's just a way to. I familiarize myself ahead of time, yes.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Are you more of a red girl or a white girl?
I prefer red wine personally, but now that I've had a chance to try whites that aren't those usual, like the Chardonnays and the Grigio, I'm actually enjoying it more, that I've learned that there's more out there.
I find them so sweet. Is that just like a certain type of grape, or am I just doing it wrong?
Yeah, I would argue you're doing it wrong. And you need a wine tasting.
You know what? I didn't get exposed to wine until, I don't know, in my late 20s. And then I'm a big red guy. I went to that Rocky Mountain Wine Food Festival, and I found a Syrah, which I'd never heard of. But from California, Smoking Loon. Mm-hmm. Have you heard of that?
I have not specifically, but yeah.
It's my favorite. But I'm not a big wine guy, so. So typically, how does somebody get a hold of you to book one of these?
I've got all the usual social medias. Facebook is, we'll tag it at the bottom of this, and I also have a website, which is just putacorkinitwinetasting.com.
Yeah.
And usually I phone you to set up dates and times, just because it's easier than trying to figure out people's calendars.
Yeah.
And then we talk about your numbers, the type of wine that you'd like, the price range of your wine, because that's obviously everyone's got their own target price of what they're looking for.
Yeah.
And we go from there.
So is there a base price? Geez, I've seen some pretty crazy expensive wines.
The wine's totally up to the person. So I have some people that say, please recommend wines that average $20. I have some that say $40, some that are more than that. It's just, that's up to them, the individual that's hosting.
Yeah.
The amount of people that attend your party probably has an impact on that. 7 people versus 14.
So if
cost
there's
of wine divided by 14 is less, obviously.
Right. So if there's, let's say I've got 5 people, or is there a minimum?
Yeah, I still charge per person is $20 a person.
Okay.
For
That's what I was
the wine tasting, the education,
Just the whole
and
thing.
bringing it in. Yeah, and then your wine is on top. So that allows the base price to be the same no matter what. It's my work is the same whether you have fancy champagne or sparkling cava, and then the amount of wine and the number of bottles and all that it's a conversation between us because I want to make sure I bring in the right stuff. But that's totally flexible.
So you bring in champagne too if people wanted it?
If people want it, yeah, for sure. Yeah, it has to be within their price point. For
would
sure.
they be considered? Is the champagne considered a wine? I mean,
yeah, it's a sparkling wine. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So much I know. And then, how long in advance do people need to book you? And
well, it depends. I'm pretty busy on and off January. Obviously, Christmas.
I guess, yeah. I guess so.
And on and off January, February. I'm doing 2 slots for the Valentine's Day weekend because I think it would be a really good couples. Yeah. So I'm doing an early and a late sitting for that, and I think I have 2 left. So I've already booked 2 of those.
Oh, well, good for you.
So it's good. Yeah.
That's exciting.
The other thing that people don't often think of is doing something like this as a team building or an after work. So if you have a smaller business, rather than going for a beer after work or something, bringing someone like myself in, I'm hoping to sort of know that corporate events or corporate lunches, obviously I probably wouldn't do 7 wines at that point, but we would do a smaller flight, but it just is that education component.
Honestly, that was exactly what I was thinking because I'm on a small real estate team and there's 12 of us. I'm like, this would be perfect.
Yeah.
Because a guy like me, I know what I like, but I don't know anything. So it would be awesome to learn a little bit about these. So how long is a typical event? If I wanted to hire you out, how long would me and my group have to budget for?
Sure. Generally, it's about an hour and a half. I need about a half hour to set up, so I usually come in as your guests are coming too, so then I kind of get your table setting and all the wine poured for you. Yeah. The event is generally an hour and a half. I've had some go over 2 hours, but that's which is fun because that means people are getting involved and they're chatting, and so it could go as long as 2 hours. Okay. Generally, if you have a group of 10 or more, we recommend 7 wines. So you can try usually 3 whites, 3 reds, and then we throw in either a dessert or a rosé or something as well. Yeah. So it's good that takes time too, because you don't want to do that many wines in a really short amount of time, because then you're not really tasting them.
Do you find that... is it hard to get people to try 7 types of wines? Would my palate get mixed up?
Oh, that's a good question. We cut it with some cheese, or hosts will often bring in their own food as well. I'm happy to bring in a selection of cheeses just to sort of clear your palate. And we're also not doing glasses, to be fair. It's usually 1.5 ounces to 2 ounces. Yeah. And then I also present it in a way that they almost complement each other, so I don't go with ones that contrast and don't go well together.
Big differences?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So...
The thing that always gets me is I go into let's say I go into Wine and Beyond and I go in for a bottle of wine. They have these wine tasting things, but they're like, oh, I can taste the oak. How do you taste oak? And how do you distinguish different flavors in different wines?
Yeah, that's a fabulous question. Generally, the first part of my wine tastings actually cover that. Yeah. The how to taste. So what you're looking for, how to go through that process.
So a little bit of the education.
Yeah, the first part's kind of educational. The second part's usually fun. We do maybe some blind tastings. That's why I have these in bottles. Try to see if you apply what you learned in the first part to the second part.
Right.
Sometimes we take the host's favorite wine and we throw it in there and see if they can guess which one it is. Yeah. So is your favorite really your favorite? Or is it not your favorite once you try it with other ones? That sort of thing. So we put little games and stuff that make it entertaining.
When you get somebody that says, hey, let's bring in a $20 bottle of wine versus somebody that brings in and I don't know, I'm not a big wine guy, but let's say a couple $100 or something for a bottle. Mm-hmm. How big is the difference? And would somebody that is uneducated like me know the difference? Would we be able to recognize it, or?
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough, right? Yeah. Because part of it's palate. Some of that's kind of the process a little bit is going through. I don't know. I feel like cool. Sometimes they're higher quality, but sometimes they're not too. It's marketing. It's the limited edition sort of value. So some of the more expensive wines are just, there's only so few of them made.
Yeah.
So a lot of it's supply and demand on the price, not necessarily the quality of the wine. Well, so there's lots of $20 to $30 bottles that are high quality, organic, either biodynamic, really good, crisp, clear wines that get outstanding value, but people just don't know about them.
Yeah, you know a lot about this, hey?
Yeah. That's crazy. So you don't need an expensive bottle for it to be good. You really don't.
Yeah.
And that's actually part of the process, is me exposing you to wines that you can pick up for $20 and they're high quality, good wines.
Yeah, yeah. What's your favorite kind of red, and what's your favorite kind of white?
Oh my goodness. I'm into, for whites right now, a white called a Suave. It's kind of got a mineral taste to it. It's a great complement to seafood and salads, and sort of a light, refreshing wine, and not sweet. Okay, and reds, oh my goodness. I always pronounce it a little bit wrong, but it's called a Nebbiolo. It's an Italian grape, which is kind of like a Cab Sav, very thick and body full, which I really enjoy.
What is the most popular that you've run into? Like, I see a lot of people drinking rosés, for example, right now.
Yeah, rosés are hitting a new trend. And they're also coming in not sweet as well, which so people are trying new ones. Gammies and Grenaches rather than your white Zinfandels that are sweet.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
You know a lot about this. Oh, wow.
I hope so.
Well, listen, is there anything else that you wanted to let them know about?
Yeah, if anyone books by and mentioning this video or Heritage Valley Community, I'm happy to give 10% off.
Oh, perfect.
The booking. So all they need to do is mention that they saw the video.
Oh, that's sweet. Okay. Well, listen, I appreciate you letting me come and kind of interview and you can find out more about your business. If you guys need any more information or you want to book, I'll put the information at the end of the video and you can reach out and book your own wine tasting. All right.
Great. Well, thank you.